In 3, 2, 1. Oh, yeah. Now we're live. Okay. Hi, everybody. Attempt number 2. Welcome to Fireside Chat number 77 here on Honey Badger Radio. I am live with Stacy King, Bulgarian MRA, or at least Bulgarian anti-feminist, anti-SGW. I don't know. What do you like to call yourself?
I don't know. I think I advocate for men's rights more than I attack feminism.
Okay.
That that's what I think.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
an anti-feminist out of necessity more than just ideological differences.
All right, all right. And guys, if you're just now joining us, first off, let me know if everything sounds okay. Secondly, please smash that like button, no matter what you're watching us on, because it does a lot for us, and it's really easy to do. It basically increases our odds of possibly getting like on a trending or reaching more people. And I think these conversations are really important to do that with. So. Yes, our stream is super early today, and the reason why is because Stacy King here is in Bulgaria, which has a 7-hour time difference. So it's like, what time is it over there? Like 5 o'clock? 5:06?
5 in the afternoon. Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, but the only way we could do this was to have this show extra early, which I was fine with doing. So here we are, and yeah, that's the story. Smash that like button. And
Do
now
it.
let's
Do
get
it.
into let's do it. Let's get into this conversation. So, speaking of feminism, this is something I asked before I discovered we actually weren't live, and I had to go adjust some things. Um, Bulgaria, do you guys have feminism there?
Well, not as much as Western Europe does. And the reason is because the ideological similarities between communism and feminism.
Uh-huh.
You have in a communist state, everyone is working, everyone gets paid more or less the same. Everyone's equal. So you had that push for put the children in kindergarten early, working moms, being the goal, like all moms to be working
Yeah.
moms for the state. So we have that social knowledge and bullshit meter,
Right.
most of us.
So
Like
big.
there's still, it really depends on which part of the country you're in. The more rural you go, the more traditional you are, the more traditional people you find, and the more you move to the urban centers, the more westernized people are. But I
Mm-hmm.
think, at least for my generation, um, there's still the social knowledge that yeah, this is not a good thing, and
Right. So
yeah,
Bulgaria has a history with communism, and
yeah, we're a post-communist country. It
yeah.
ended about 30 years ago.
Okay, so basically, you guys are just super wary of any of this kind of rhetoric or this kind of ideology. And feminism is, in fact, it does have a very close relationship to communism. So
Well, if you've
naturally,
ever if you've ever read any communist propaganda kind of things, and I've had to, because all the books had intros written by communist ideologues, so you start to recognize the language. And for most feminist propaganda pieces, you switch out women with proletariat and you're done.
mm-hmm,
You're
absolutely,
reading communist propaganda, it's done. Like there's nothing more to change.
yeah. Except that exchanging the proletariat for women is actually more effective than simply, because that was the if you think about it, we're inclined to care about women's suffering. So if you put women in the victim role and basically treat them as the proletariat in your rhetoric, then you're going to more likely get people to be like, "Oh shit, we want to help the women. What do I have to give up? All my freedoms? I'll do it." So that's why I think it's taking, at least in countries like the United States, in Canada, and the UK, where they don't have direct experience with communism, they totally fully embrace feminism. It's because they can't see, what the effects of that could be. And I think that
It's unfortunate because it's a handful of ideologues just abusing the care the human tribe as a species has for their females in order to survive. It's just abusing a power that shouldn't be abused.
Yes, absolutely. There was something else I wanted to ask you about. Well, no, actually tell you. I wanted to do this on a stream. So you didn't realize at first who I was, and I was going to tell you, you made a video as part of a large video compilation that Bain and a bunch of other people put together that were essentially commenting on my struggles with cancer. And I wanted to thank you personally for making that that video. And it was very touching. And yeah, I just want you to know, thank you for the support. I thought it was really great that you did that.
Oh, well, I think you're very brave for being so public and just, soldiering on through it.
Well,
you've been awesome.
Well, thank you.
What you've been through.
I just I didn't really see, I guess the way I see it, it seems like with the internet, it's usually just better to, especially if you're like, if you think that you might be considered a public figure, like I wouldn't necessarily consider myself to be a public figure, but there's a chance that I might as well just be, upfront about what I'm going through, because this way people can't go and try to dig it up and, throw it in my face. That's why I not only just came out and, told Allison this is what's happening. And I mean, obviously it was going to impact my ability to do the show too, because I was going to be going through chemo and all that. But not only did I do that, but I also made it a point to joke about it, because I didn't want to give, it sort of like takes ammunition away from your trolls. If you tell jokes about your own cancer and you do it more effectively than they do, then they can't joke about you, because you've already done it. You're already laughing at yourself, right?
Yeah.
So
yeah, no, it's always way more effective to like joke with whatever you're going through before everyone else.
Yes,
And
exactly.
just disarm them.
Exactly. Speaking of which, Tuna Sandwich gave us $2 and says, shekels for Brian, fuck cancer. Thank you, Tuna. But seriously, though, guys, this is about Stacy King. So if you have any questions for her, go ahead and put them in. I'll try to look for them. If you put them in as super chats, though, they'll definitely get read on the air. So, Stacy King, why did you decide to make content like this? Did you have, like, what's your story? Did you have, like, some kind of experience? Or was there something else?
It's my way to men's rights is a bit weird. I started out as the odd woman that watches MGTOW videos, and that's like way back when Karen first showed up and Stardust just started had like in the boom of all those
you were watching
pre-Sandman era.
Yeah. No, I was watching it then too. You were watching probably Barbarossa and Stardust then?
I did, yeah, Barbarossa and Stardust, and then everyone else started popping up, and yeah, it was a very fascinating time.
Yeah.
And then slowly but surely, when I learned all I felt I could learn from that experience, I just moved on, because I was a fly on the wall on so many conversations where just men talk to each other about things, and I was thinking, wow, these people are in this position in life because they've seen some shit and they've been through some shit, and it's scary. Like I'm not sure I could have survived through some of the things I was listening to.
What was it about the MGTOW content that drew you in? And how do you find that?
Well, funny story.
Good. We like stories. Everybody gather around. I'm going to pull up a pillow.
uh, Thunderfoot started attacking feminism, and I started going through, down the rabbit hole of Gamergate and feminism and stuff and things.
Uh-huh.
And all these abbreviations started um, showing up.
Yeah, yeah.
And I started YouTube searching them, and I found fascinating things and videos about how women are shit, and how scary it is to be a father in a Western country these days, and
And
all these stuff.
that stuff didn't just like, upset you and make you like dismiss them as just
No,
bitter virgins or anything like that?
I was curious why they thought so.
Mm-hmm.
So, uh, my virginal experience of posting out of all the things I could have posted in that comment section, not all women are like that argument.
Is that what you did?
That was what I did.
So you name
My
vaulted.
very my very first comment on a MGTOW video was like,
Yeah.
no, not all women are like that comment. And
It's funny because it's like that people still do it when they discover the stuff, and I find it funny
yeah,
because it's like, have you
it's
considered that they've heard this argument before?
I didn't consider it at all. Um, and then, I got my first bad reaction after, I don't know, 7 years on YouTube. First really bad reaction to a comment. I got upset. And I started soul searching because that's who I am. Like when someone upsets me, I start thinking like, what's wrong with me that they upset me? Uh,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, and I learned a lot about myself in that first year of just watching.
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
What kind of things did you learn
I
about yourself?
well, I learned how much of an emotional thinker I am,
Mm-hmm.
especially in arguments. I would, realize that, what, I'm thinking with my emotions right now. I should switch to my brain because it's more effective.
Yeah, yeah. Well,
Yeah.
I think a lot of people definitely argue with their emotions. I guess the without going on too much of a tangent, I don't want to say that this is a female thing to do necessarily because I've seen and run into lots of guys who still do it. I think it's about maybe that men are more inclined to think that way, but I think that in a logical way, but I think that it's something that people still need to learn because if you're on the internet and you're getting into debates and stuff, it's most of the time people are coming from an emotional place, and maybe it's because they need a father in their life, or I don't know.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
especially when it's a topic you're passionate about.
Mm-hmm.
You can't help but, at least to some extent, argue with your emotions because you feel passionately about it. And,
Sure.
trying to say, well, I'm not an exploitative person that's just leeching off of society is kind of hard to argue without your feelings. Even recently when I actually sat down and did my first MGTOW response video.
I
Uh,
saw most of that where you actually made a response video to Coltane, who made a
yeah,
video about stay-at-home moms.
yeah, yeah.
What's just for people who don't know, let's give them a little bit of context because we kind of mentioned it. What was Coltane's argument and what was your counter argument in general?
His argument was it's not a job, and stay-at-home wives as a whole are useless to today's society. And my counter argument was, first, you need to make a distinction between stay-at-home wives and stay-at-home moms, and second, uh, depending on the country you're in, the kind of relationship the partners are in, the qualifications of the mother, and a myriad of other factors, sometimes it is a very good both financial and social decision for the mother to stay at home and take care of her children.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the choice that me and my husband made, because we either had to pick between me staying at home and taking care of two kids, or me going back to work and kids going to daycare. And the money I would be making with my teaching salary would just cover almost about the daycare plus, I don't know, a week's worth of shopping, like for
Right.
groceries. And that's it. And that's just pointless, knowing how much money go for, you know, when the kids get sick, when they go to daycare, and all the psychological effects. Someone else is raising your child, not you. So yeah.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, I think that yeah, it is a very important distinction between stay-at-home moms and stay-at-home wives, or just housewives that don't have kids or whatever you want to call it. And yeah, I know you're a stay-at-home mom, right?
Yeah.
And how many
Yeah.
kids do you have?
Two boys.
How old are they?
They're 9 and 7.
So are they both in school now? I
Yeah.
assume.
Yeah.
Okay, I assume
Yeah.
that going to school in Bulgaria is the same as like they start at
It is.
5 or something and they get out at okay.
Yeah, but I take them only half day. So in the afternoon, like right now, they're home just playing in the other room.
Oh, okay, all right. And
Yeah.
yeah, but I think that being a parent is definitely a lot of work. Obviously, I'm not a parent. Um,
Hmm.
my condition has made it such that there's a likelihood that I'm not going to be able to be a parent. But I can imagine how much work that is, and I think that it's a really important job. We understand the cultural impacts of parenting, specifically being a mother, because you have to look at countries or cultures in which raising children is a big part of how they sort of grow within other cultures. For example, just a brief touch on Islam as one
Hmm.
example. They usually have multiple wives there to make multiple kids so that they can raise those kids while in other countries. So I mean they do this wherever, but this is obviously having an impact in Europe,
My
right?
my experience of Islam is very different.
Oh, what's
Like
your experience with
here,
Islam?
well, here we have a traditional, like we have a very large Muslim population because of the Ottoman Empire and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and like especially in the southern part of Bulgaria, you have places that are half Christian, half uh,
Muslim.
Muslim. Yeah, and like I guess they're pretty secular here because they have like one wife and they go casually to the mosque, and it's just like not
Have they
not
been there? So you say this is like dates back to the Ottoman Empire. So are
yeah.
these people who have been in Bulgaria for a really long time and speak the language, and
Yeah,
they're
yeah,
not
yeah. No, they're
migrants or anything like
local.
that?
No, no,
Yeah.
no. They're local, homegrown, always been here for centuries, kind of.
Oh yeah. So they're probably very different then. So yeah, it
They
would make
are.
sense. Yeah,
They're
culturally they're very
extremely
different.
different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So because yeah, because I know that those that are migrating into Europe and some of the Islamists. So I'm not I'm talking about the Islamists and the people who are trying to
Mm,
change the demographics of Europe. They have
yeah.
declared, we won't conquer Europe by the sword, but by the womb, right? And that essentially means we're going to out reproduce you, and we're going to
Hmm.
raise our kids in such a manner that they would want Islam to be the prevailing, not just ideology, not just religion, but political structure. And so that this is very different, it seems, from what you're talking about, or even what
Yeah.
many
No,
Muslims
the
that live in the
interesting
West.
interesting thing, the migrants that come through here, Like some of them try to radicalize our population here, and
Mm-hmm.
early 2010s, our imams here, like they have their whole organization and stuff, they came out against these radicals. They were like, the same way the Orthodox Church here in Bulgaria came out against the evangelical Christians that were trying to like promote a different kind of Christianity.
Uh-huh.
Our own Muslims were like, no, we don't like these radicals. They're making our youth do stupid things.
Yeah,
Get them
yeah.
out. This is
Wow.
not our faith. Yeah.
Bulgarian Muslims sound pretty based. That's pretty
They,
cool.
they are. They're a pretty neat thing to have around when you have radical Muslims running
Yeah.
around.
Yeah, exactly. Um, oh man, cool. So what else? So you found this the MGTOW stuff, and then you felt like you wanted to uh, respond to some of that content, or at least it sort of got your attention. You became really curious, and
No,
then
no, it was more of an educational phase
okay,
about what problems there are when looking through the eyes of a man, because
uh
my
huh,
personal experience was very different. And it turns out we had many things in common. Most of them had abusive mothers. I had an abusive mother. Some of them had lost kids. When I got married, my mom stripped me of my little sister that she put in my lap when she was 6 months old. Like
mm-hmm,
I raised that baby from 6 months old to 7 years, but when I decided to have my own family, she said, "Okay, I'm taking her with me," and just I couldn't have any contact with her for years. So
wow,
that sucked.
yeah,
Um, and there was nothing I could do. So I could relate to that and I could have empathy for that. And I wanted other people to have empathy for that because I could see in the comment sections like, oh, you're just whining. Oh, you just have mommy issues. And then something very interesting happened. I was watching creepypastas that were these Reddit things told in first person, and it was a girl's story told by a guy.
okay,
And I didn't realize that until about the end. And the entire time, I was egging him on to stop acting stupid and just beat up the guy that's, being creepy in his car. Um,
mm-hmm,
and then I realized like I have a totally different outlook on what's happening in the story depending on the voice I'm listening to, and until I realized like what's going on. And I thought, I've heard that brains react differently to male voices and female voices. What if I flip that and do a man's story in my voice?
mm-hmm,
And I started asking around for stories. I asked Terrence Pop, I asked Dean Esme, I asked a bunch of MGTOWs I knew had interesting stories. And every time I'd ask for viewers, if they feel they have a story to tell, to send me the stories. So I've done about, I don't know, 15 of those.
yeah.
Yeah.
And the idea was that you were reading a man's story. Did the audience or did people know the story was a man's story, or did you kind of like reveal, like
uh,
like it's sort of
most of
like a twist, like people are thinking there's a woman reading this, I'm feeling a certain way about this story, and then at the end you say, by the way, this was a man.
it I've done it with one story, and
Mm-hmm.
that's the only fictional story, and it's called The Story with a Twist. And like I made it up based on the thousands of reports of 14, 15-year-old guys getting molested by their teachers. Uh, so at the end, like I made up some male and female names and was like, my name is, I don't know, Gregory or something, and she
Mm-hmm.
was Isabel, and now ask yourself how you feel about that story again, because I use gender neutral pronouns throughout the entire story.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
But
Okay.
that's the only time I did it. Most of the time, I explain the premise in the beginning. I'm like, this is a man's story. The goal of it is for you to hear it in a woman's voice and see if that won't close your empathy gap for what's happened to them. And that's the idea.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. That so you were
It
doing
works for
these.
some people. It
Yeah.
doesn't work for others. It really depends.
Yeah, yeah. So you were doing these stories, and then um, you were apparently you were talking to people in the movement. You mentioned, or at least people related. Like I think that it's. I don't want to just call it a movement because I noticed that there's a lot of um, overlapping circles, not just within say MRAs and MGTOW and anti-feminists, but also people who are just kind of egalitarians, people who are just like maybe they identify as feminists, but they're critical of some of the extreme aspects of it, whatever. So it's almost
Mm-hmm.
like the whole ecosystem or the whole I don't know, population of people that have opinions on this that are not normal feminist
Feminist.
mainstream
Yeah.
opinions, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the so you were talking to these people, and did you find that like what how did the culture welcome you? Were you like um did you get a lot of support? Were there some people that were suspicious? Because I know that a lot of times when women get involved, a lot of times they're the MGTOW especially, but a lot of the MRAs become suspicious that they could be plants or they could be infiltrating because that happens. Stuff like that. Did you encounter any of those kinds of things?
I don't know. In that point in time, I was commenting on a lot of things, and to this day, I get told like, "Oh, you're that Stacy King that had a comment on every single, I don't know, Teal Deer video and Sargon
Mm-hmm.
video and so on and so forth." So people would read my comments here and there, and they would repeatedly tell me, "You know what? You should start doing videos."
Yeah.
And after Skeptor sat down and made a video out of one of my comments and told me, you know what, you should definitely start making videos. I thought, you know what, if if I hear it that often, I should just try. I should try. So I started thinking of a concept that could make original content because I didn't want to be the next anti-feminist clone that debunks feminist stuff because there are plenty of people like that out there. So when I
Mm-hmm.
got the idea for the patriarchy tales, I was like, that's it. I'm making videos now. I'm gonna do this.
Yeah, yeah. So speaking
Yeah.
of which, I got some super chats, but before I read them, you were talking
Mm-hmm.
about your persona. So why did you go with this sugar skull girl? Or in other words, what is it with you people and skulls?
Ah, can I just, because I saw something in the chat, can I just say for
Yeah.
the record, so there's an official record out there. I am not Barbara for you to see. I am not
No.
her, never been her, and I know we have similar accents. It's because we're both Slavic. Slavic accents sound similarly, so I'm not her. I,
I'm pretty
yeah,
sure Barbara is from a different. She's
Slovakia, I
Slovakia.
think,
Yes,
or
she's from
Slovenia.
maybe Slovenia. Yeah, yeah, but not
Not sure
Bulgaria.
which one it is. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Besides, Barbara doesn't have a problem showing her face. She's out
Exactly.
there. So
Yeah,
yeah, and not a
yeah.
mom either,
No.
to my knowledge. So,
Yeah.
Michael Keller says Barbara would be a great guest for Fireside Chat. Yes, I planned on getting Barbara on. I met her at VidCon. I also met Kisara Vera there, and she has a story about her experience with Islam. Like she was going to be, like she was a Muslim for a while, and she was gonna, join up with them because they made her feel like a woman or feminine or whatever. But yeah, so yeah, I might do that in the future. It just depends on whether or not they will come on our show. So, but okay. So now, so the sugar skull thing, you didn't answer that. You dodged that one. You dodged that one.
Uh, yeah. Well, it's really simple. When I used to go to university, I studied Spanish philology
Mm-hmm.
because I really like first I studied the language in school and I really liked it. And second, we studied the literature there. So I really like Latin American and Spanish literature and culture. And I also have a morbid fascination with death and everything, you know, about it.
Mm-hmm.
So the sugar skull girl is just the perfect, balance between my passion for Hispanic culture and death for me to say
I,
like, you know what, that's something that feels like me.
yeah, yeah. I just it confused me because I was like, that is the strangest sounding Mexican accent I ever heard. when I when I when I watched, I was like, is and I was no, I'm not kidding. I was actually trying to rationalize for some reason a Hispanic accent from how you were talking. And it started to make sense for a little while, but then I was like, no, this sounds too Eastern European for me, like to be that. But at first I was like, wow, that's a really interesting Spanish accent she's got. Anyway, it's just really funny how we
Unusual one. Yeah,
yeah,
very,
yeah, how we
very
put
unusual.
images to sound. But that was years ago.
Yeah.
I was dumb back then. I'm a little bit less dumb now. So now super chats. Alec Undusco gave us $50. Thank you, Alec. Wow, that's very generous. He
That's
says,
a lot.
yeah,
Awesome.
he says, "Good morning, Brian and Stacy. Took too long to come up with this. Stacy, have you made your boys halushki? I don't know if that I'm pronouncing that correctly. Do you know what that is? Halushki?
No.
Okay, let me Google search it real quick. It's a recipe, traditional Polish recipe, handed down. It looks kind of like noodles, cabbage, and onions. You're
No,
no,
I
okay.
don't know.
It's
No.
Polish food. So, um,
I'm not like no.
no, okay. So yeah, so the answer to that will be no. And then he says, "I'm with you there on mommy issues." That sounds like the concept of quote, "and now you know the rest of the story," end quote. I like male narration. And then he
Hmm.
gives us another $10 and says, "A droning male voice helps me sleep, and maybe for me, it's the sense that one of the tribe is keeping watch. I tend to turn off voice navigation, which is normally female voice, to know about that." It's a little bit of a stream of consciousness post, but there you go.
Mm-hmm.
Um, there you go. I don't know. I just read it because I got a super chat and I read the super chats. Neela Possess says it's a Slavic food. Yeah. So I mean, I assume that you do cook for your kids, but you guys have different cuisine, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
What's tell me what's a thing that you really like to eat that's specifically Bulgarian?
The problem with Bulgarian cuisine is that it's a very fun mix between Turkish, Greek, and just Balkan food. Like we've mixed so much,
Uh-huh.
uh, both
That doesn't sound like
culturally
a
and
problem
gender.
to me.
Yeah, because like we have moussaka, which is usually a Greek thing, but we make it a bit different. We also have um, like some of the Turkish sweets, but with our own spin on it. So
Mm-hmm.
it's like it's just Balkan food
Yeah.
usually. Yeah.
Okay. So it's from
I like
there it
I
is.
like making Italian and I know Spanish and German from time to time. I cook a bit
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
of yeah. If I like
Well,
something, I dig up the recipe and I cook it.
all right. And so what kind of because I love Spanish food. I mean, I am Hispanic, so what kind of what kind of food do you make that's Spanish? What's your favorite Spanish dishes?
My favorite Spanish dish both to make and eat is very cliche, but paella valenciana is just it's so good.
What is that? I don't know it by that name. Would you spell it for me, or say
Um,
it again?
okay, paella, like
Oh,
paella, the one with
paella.
double.
Yes, yes, yes,
Yes,
yes. I know what that is. Oh yeah, I love that stuff. Yes, that's good stuff.
yeah, and it's like the Valenciana kind with all kinds of oysters and fish
Mm-hmm.
and stuff
My
and
my grandmother was really good at making that stuff, paella, with the fish, because Puerto Rico is an island, so you're either gonna get seafood, crabs, and oysters and stuff like that, or you're gonna be
hmm.
eating pork. Those were the main things because there's a lot of pig farms there and chicken farms and stuff. So
Guy Moore, I'm 32. I'm not 18, but that's really sweet.
wait, what? Oh, did somebody? Stacy is over 30. Did somebody say she was 18? She's like 18. No, guy.
That's
She
so sweet. That is so sweet.
she sounds young, but she's not. I mean, well, 32 is young to me. I mean, I'm
Yeah.
45, so what are you gonna do? And my stapler, she's 31. So yeah, but she's still. People think that she's younger than she is. Zaranx gives us $5 and says, not to take away from Stacy, but if you weren't considering it, maybe you can get Christy on, formerly Christy O'Misty. Apparently, she's back on YouTube.
Oh,
Yeah, I
definitely.
know who she
Yeah, you
is.
should definitely.
Yeah, I know who she
Yeah.
is. I remember her too from back in the day.
Hmm.
I will look into that. But I am serious. Says, are you guys just going to talk about food or what? No, I was just asking because we're just chit chatting. That's what a fireside chat is. Sometimes it's like really involved. Sometimes it's just casual. I just like talking to the other people that are related to the movement, just about stuff, things like what's going on with them. But also, it is good to like get into certain topics. It just depends. Have you heard about? We're going to talk about this tomorrow, Stacy. But have you heard about this thing with Katy Perry?
Oh God. I have so many opinions on that.
Okay,
Ah.
go
I
ahead.
don't
Let me
know.
know what you think.
Stolen kisses are so cute and romantic, but at the same time, like it's just don't do that. Don't do it on air. Don't do it while you're being filmed, especially to someone that you know is saving themselves for marriage or whatever.
Yeah.
Like that's not very fair. I wouldn't like that.
Oh, I get what you're saying. To be fair though, and I don't know if this is true or not. Did Katy Perry know the guy was saving himself before she stole a kiss from
Oh
him?
yeah, that was his whole thing. I'm this, good Christian boy. I've never kissed a girl. Blah blah blah, and that's why they brought it up. They were like, "Oh, so you've never kissed a girl, huh? Yeah, I'm saving myself for
Oh.
marriage. I want it to be special and stuff." And she said, "But can you give me a kiss, like on the cheek?" And she tricked him. She tricked him
Mm.
in the most cheesy and stupid way ever.
Yeah, yeah. Well, okay, so in
And
that
then I'm thinking, okay, if a male judge did that, I know everyone does the gender swap thing, but seriously, if a if a male judge did that to any contestant,
mhm.
especially with the age difference and power, difference in the situation, wouldn't it be a scandal that confirms all the Me Too things about Hollywood and the entertainment industry and how men see women only as things to be used for
There
their
there'd
entertainment
be
and whatever?
yeah, there'd be a new hashtag like that would just go absolute viral,
Yeah.
Stolen kisses are stolen lives. Stolen kisses are rape, something like that. It's not even that I have a problem with people like you were saying. I don't have a problem with stolen kisses per se, but it's about applying the logic. Once you apply the logic of the people who typically get on board the outrage train, once you apply that logic universally, there's no way that Katy Perry would have been able to keep a job. Like she would be out of a job.
Yeah,
if she was a
yeah. They
man
would be
and this
like,
was.
we don't support
Yep,
his
they would have fired
rapey
him,
ways.
and it would have
What a
been.
horrible person.
Yep. It would have been the end of everything. So yeah, that's
Yeah.
pretty interesting. Also, did you hear about this thing that just happened today? I'm gonna look it up here. There was a bombing in Austin. It
Yeah, I
just
saw that
happened.
on the Bulgarian news. Like it's a string of those, isn't it?
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, there were 4 explosions. I'm looking it up right
Yeah,
now because this one has just happened. So
yeah,
let me just look here. I'm gonna mute this. It says on the Washington Post, after fourth Austin explosion, police warn of sophisticated serial bomber. The
yeah,
explosion in the Austin neighborhood Sunday night had similarities with the 3 bombs that detonated in the Texas capital earlier this month, leading authorities to determine that they are dealing with a serial bomber terrorizing the city. Yeah, it's crazy. So I
Hmm.
don't know. There's no word on what is.
They actually have a reward. Like if anyone uh can come forth with information that leads to, getting a suspect under
Yeah,
arrest.
it's like $100,000 that they're offering.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, what right now there's no way of knowing what the motive is or who's doing it or whatever. I mean, the Washington Post is trying to. They're looking to kind of spin it. It looks like, but I don't know that these things are related because they said, oh, first it was a black person and then it was Hispanic people, but I don't know. I don't know. We have to wait and see what comes out.
Hmm.
So, but yeah, pretty messed up. Pretty messed up.
Yeah.
Uh-oh, we have our chat is turning into fun time. Hey, Joey Jojo's in there. What's up, man? So anyway, looks like we got some action, which is cool. We got
Yeah.
169 people watching. Thank you. Thanks for joining
Yay.
us. And Rand Pierce just gave us
Hello.
$10. Thank
Welcome.
you, Rand Pierce. Yes, welcome. Please hang out and watch the show with us. So anyway,
Hmm.
so what do you have you ever been to, or is this something that you would even be interested? Because I know you're a mother and you have like a lot of your own responsibilities. So I'm guessing this YouTube thing is sort of like what you do in your. Is it like a hobby for you, or is it more like a passion, a little bit of both? What
A
are your
little
thoughts
bit
on
of
that?
both.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a little bit of both. It's something I do in my spare time that I am pretty passionate about.
Okay. Your kids are calling. Yeah, she's taking care of her kids right now.
And done.
Okay. Okay, so another question. Remember we were talking about the various overlapping circles, and I think I was talking about this
Hmm.
before we started. Are you more of an MRA, more of an anti-feminist, more of a um, it's an anti-SJW? Like, what do you think about those things? Like, do you have priorities on that?
I'm just a fan of consistency and human rights.
Mm-hmm.
So, um, I'm I'm of the opinion that MRAs are getting too bad of a rap and that more people should claim the title instead of, run away from it because there's too much mud on it. So, thank you, Mike, for inspiring me to do that. So that's the only label I will, wear proudly and say, yeah, I'm a men's rights advocate, you know.
All it is an action, right?
It
So,
is. It is.
I
Like
mean,
what
the
what I try to do is close the empathy gap, but
yeah.
on top of that, uh sorry, I'm reading the chat. On top of that, I do political commentary and I talk about not only like men's rights, but children's rights
Mm-hmm.
and just recently what was brought up in the chat, I made a video on South Africa because
I saw
I'm
that.
seeing a whole lot of people um, that don't understand because, and they think I don't understand either, but I've lived there, and then on top of that,
You lived
I
in wait,
ran a test
you've lived in
in
South
South
Africa?
Africa.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, when
For
I
how
was very
long?
young,
Mm-hmm.
for 4 years, from 3 to 7.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
And what was it like there?
it was interesting. It was interesting. It was warm. It was fun. But once you get a feel of what the end of the apartheid was, and from a not very privileged position, because uh, I'm I'm not like a very blonde Slav. I have dark hair, dark eyes. We were just white enough to be considered white.
Mm-hmm.
So I got at least a little bit of that racial tension, because once you bring race to the forefront, people perceive each other differently. Um, so that's why I did the video. I was like, what's happening there isn't cool, but first, it's not only white farmers. Stop talking about exclusively white farmers, because like the crime rate there is super high.
Yeah.
And second of all, and this is to answer the chat's question, I'm planning on making a follow-up video about um, how especially the white identitarians are too focused on rich white people in South Africa getting hurt. And no one says anything about the huge white slums and poverty that's happened to a vast amount of the white population there. Like, they don't care about the poor white people. Why would they? White homelessness? Who cares? Rich
Yeah.
white people are getting killed. We should focus on that. You know.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Uh
So.
so I
So
gotta
yes, I will be doing more videos like that. And
cool.
yeah, so when it comes to titles, I'm an anti-feminist out of necessity, because I protect and would like to protect men's rights to, I know, be fathers, have bodily integrity, um, be innocent until proven guilty when they have an accusation leveled at them, and so on and so forth. Like, if you're watching this channel, you know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
talking about.
Mm-hmm.
And also, I really wish kids would stop getting sexualized at the young age, and people like genuinely knew what gender neutral means, and a tutu isn't gender neutral, and yeah.
Yeah, right, right. Uh so I got some a super chat that's kind of interesting. Wait. Ebola cereal. Um, Ebola cereal gives us 20 DKK
Something.
Donkey Kong coins. We call them Donkey Kong coins. He says, "Stacy,
Uh-huh.
come sit on the patriarchy, baby girl."
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And then Tiger
Not
Sun,
today.
not today, no. Tiger Sun gives
Oh.
us $50 HK. Is that, I don't know what the HK stands for. And he says
Mm-hmm.
the boy that Katy Perry kissed did say on a Facebook post that he did not actually feel he was sexually harassed, but she is still an entitled skank, entitled to his lips, just under double his age. And Zaranx gives us $5 and says Stacey King is anti-women. Feminism equals women. I ignore the rest of the word that brings context. I'm sorry. I'm trying to be funny as always. And then
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Alex Indusco, who was giving us such great super chats before, gave us another $10, and he says, "Stacy, have any of these stories you
Uh-huh.
mentioned that you found? Are there any of these stories that you mentioned that you found especially powerful?"
Oh my God. There was most of them. Most of
Yeah,
them. Terrence Popp's story is pretty powerful. Uh,
yeah,
then there are two that involve sexual abuse, that are pretty. Babe. They're getting anxious
Are you
at this
speaking
point. I'm
communist
sorry.
on this call? We don't accept that red talk in here. I'm kidding.
Yeah. Добре, пиленце. Um, there was one about domestic abuse that, like, some of them I did in interview form, so I sat for 2 hours and listened to it, and then I had to transcribe it and then read it out, and like those were really tasking to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was powerful. And then because I
Then
watched his
there
video
was
too.
one British guy who basically got, and I don't remember how exactly he put it, but like there was a court ruling that basically castrated him socially, so any next child he would have would be taken away at birth. So that was a very sad one.
Yeah. Yeah, so definitely some that stood out. I and Alex and Disco also asks, Brian, what helps keep you sane with everything you've been through? I don't know. I guess I'm just the type of person that typically if I run into a personal struggle in my life, I just figure out what the solution is if there is one, and I just start going through the motions to fix it. It doesn't usually, like, okay, obviously it can be tough, but as long as I know that there's like light at the end of the tunnel and I just move towards it, it doesn't bother me that much. It's uncertainty that makes me nervous. That's the stuff that bugs me, is when I don't know, it's like totally up in the air. So, and I don't want to distract too much because this is Stacy King and I talking, but I do want to answer that question. So thanks for the super chat. And then lastly, he says, both of you, where is the best vista you've ever seen? I'm gonna let you answer that one first.
Whoa, what's that about?
The best vista, like the best, I guess, a place you've been that has like that was the most beautiful. I'm assuming, like, if you've traveled.
Oh, I don't know. Bulgarian mountains are beautiful.
Yeah.
Rand Pierce, if you want to send me a story, go to my channel. There's an email there. It's a contact email. It's patriarchytales@mail.com. Send me, just write it out and send it.
There you go. Do it.
Yeah.
Do you get to travel a lot? That was something I
No.
meant to ask you about. Okay, yeah, I mean, because you have kids and stuff. If let's say hypothetically, we've been doing the International Conference on Men's Issues every year, starting from I think it was 2014 or something like that, where they had one in Detroit, and then there was and this year we're doing one in the UK. We're doing one in London, assuming they let us in. I've heard that they don't let people in sometimes. But we are supposed to be doing one in the UK. What did you have a thought on that?
Oh, the letting into the UK
yeah, the
thing,
letting
or?
in. Yeah, you were about to say something. I think about the letting
No.
into the UK.
I think we'll be fine. I think we'll be fine. If we as a group, like MRA as well, I think we're fine.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll see. I hope, but
Yeah.
there, again, it's all about like connections, right? Like we have had, like, think of it like what I call 6 degrees of separation, but it's like 6 degrees of Lauren Southern. We have had Lauren Southern on our show a couple of times. It was years ago.
Worst part is I discovered that they consider Molyneux an MRA. So that's fun.
Oh yeah, they consider
so many MRAs.
He's
incredible.
he's not only an MRA, but he's alt-right. So that means the MRAs are alt-right. Like this is the logic we're working with. And remember, the SPLC added male supremacists to their hate watch list, which includes a Voice for Men, Paul. And Paul is usually involved with the ICMI, usually heavily involved. So that's why I say I am rightly concerned that we may go to the UK, and then get sent back at once we get there. So once we spent all the money flying out there, we may get sent. We may get sent back. I don't know. Maybe not, but there is a chance, I think.
Yeah. Why don't you do it in Bulgaria? No one will stop you from coming here.
Well, that's what I was talking about with the ICMI thing. So we did it in Australia, we did it in the UK. We've been talking about possibly. I think it'd be a great idea to do an ICMI in India, because the MRM, the men's movement in India it's very big, right? It's a big thing there. They have like PSAs and everything, right? But if we ever did do one in the Balkan part, post-communist countries, even though you don't get out a lot, would you make an effort to come to an ICMI?
Oh, if it's somewhere near, and like I'd probably get hubby to, we'll figure out what to do with the kids, probably dump them on the in-laws and just show up together, because I'd be too scared to go alone. I'd be like, honey, you're coming with me. You're going to be an MRA for a few days.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go. So, all right, we got another couple super chats, or a super chat. Barnabas Seaworth says, whenever feminists say that men aren't oppressed and that men's rights are meaningless, however, they then complain I think this guy's English isn't the best. So, whenever feminists say that men aren't oppressed and that men's rights are meaningless, that's a statement. However, they then complain how MRAs don't help MOC, so men of color, gay men, and trans men. Do they realize that they contradict themselves? Well, yeah, there is that, but also it's all posturing, Barnabas. Feminists don't even. I'll put it this way. I think there are definitely individual feminists that care about women and care about men, but they think that women need more attention, kind of like a plant that hasn't been watered properly in the right place, or needs a little bit more attention.
The stream on YouTube has
it stopped?
Died. Yes.
It may. Well, let me see. Is it? How's the stream? It says it borked. It's back. It's back.
Oh,
I don't know. That might
okay.
just be a hiccup in the internet. I wouldn't sweat it. Once this is over and it processes, everything will be smooth. So, but anyway, like I was saying, I think there are definitely individual women and men who identify as feminists that claim to care about both genders. They just think that women need more attention right now. That I will give that to people who are not politically involved, but more like normie feminists and coffee shop feminists, as we call it. However, the fact is, the ideology itself.
I'm just thankful that even some of the more vocal ones are starting to accept that an erection isn't necessarily, what's the word I'm looking for? Consent.
Yeah.
That
no,
erection doesn't mean consent.
It's
something that's finally, starting to seep into the public consciousness.
It's a good start